The government of India has just announced the evacuation of Indian citizens from Sudan. There have been some Indian citizens who've been able to get out, for example, with the French. But this is an Indian operation. It's called Operation Kaveri. There's a tweet by Dr. S. Jaishankar, the foreign minister. We're going to pull that out for you in just a moment. This has just come in. And in that tweet, he says Operation Kaveri gets underway to bring back our citizens stranded in Sudan. About 500 Indians have reached Port Sudan, more on their way. Our ships and aircraft are set to bring them back home. We are committed to assist all our brethren in Sudan. The ship itself, which is going to help bring back a large number of them, is the Sumedha, which is an offshore patrol vessel of the Indian Navy. And there are a couple of Indian Air Force transports as well. Now, the numbers are significant, 500. They should be able to get onto the ship. And if there are others, then they will be progressively evacuated to safety. This at a time when there is a civil war of sorts which is broken out in Sudan, on the streets of Khartoum, the capital, when different armed factions are fighting with each other. The government of India very, very closely looking at that situation and are trying to get our nationals out. India has had a fantastic record of reaching out to Indians under distress around the world, whether it's in Ukraine or in Yemen or in other areas as well, and then mounting these evacuation plans, which now in the case of Sudan is underway. It's called Operation Kaveri. The foreign minister announcing this just now. He says it's Operation Kaveri gets underway to bring back our citizens stranded in Sudan. About 500 Indians have reached Port Sudan, more on their way. Now, just in terms of how this is all working out and what the nature of the threat over there is, the Indian embassy in Khartoum in Sudan is very much in the area where there has been a lot of the violence which is taking place. The diplomatic enclave over there, very close to the international airport where there have been attacks. So while our diplomats haven't been able to physically be in the embassy, at least not in the last couple of days, they have been working around the clock to try and ensure that Indian citizens get the information that they need. There has been the sad loss of one Indian citizen at least in the fighting which has taken place over there. The foreign minister has been working the phones. He's been interacting with our partners, for example, Saudi Arabia, France, other nations as well. I believe the United Arab Emirates. Two C-130J Hercules aircraft of the Indian Air Force have been kept on standby in the vicinity of Sudan to fly in should they be required. But Sumedha, which is a large offshore patrol vessel of the Indian Navy, is deployed and is at Port Khartoum right now. And I presume these citizens will be evacuated by sea. So that's the information which we are getting right now. This is the first large-scale Indian evacuation from Sudan which has taken place. There have been some Indian citizens who've been able to get out, for example, with the assistance of the French. But this is an Indian operation taking place right now. Maha Siddiqui joins us for more on this. Maha, any details?
Yes, the details that are emerging are from the minister's tweet itself that he has put out. This is Operation Kaveri that is now underway to bring back Indian citizens who are stranded in Sudan. 500 Indians have reached Port Sudan. And remember, yesterday India had put out details that INS Sumedha is at Port Sudan. And it was giving us an indication that the evacuations from Sudan, therefore, for Indians will start soon. Meanwhile, two C-130Js are also positioned in Jeddah. So both air and by sea, these evacuations will be conducted. This first batch of 500 is going to be evacuated via ship, as is clear now, since they have reached Port Sudan. And the External Affairs Minister's tweet reiterates that our ships and aircraft are ready to bring them back, and we are committed to assisting all the Indians in Sudan. There are about roughly, Vishnu, 3,000 Indians in Sudan, out of which about 1,500 are those who are pretty much settled there in Sudan. They have family, they have businesses there. Another 1,500 are those who keep coming and going. So those 1,500 definitely wanted to be evacuated. The others, since their businesses and family is there, perhaps want to move to safer locations within Sudan, if that is possible. So all those options are being looked at. Right now on the ground, Khartoum is the most dangerous place, and to bring people to safer locations out of Khartoum is important. Land routes were being looked at because first of all, they have to be transported on land, and those safe passages were required. So now these 500 people, we don't know exactly from which spots they have been brought out, but land routes, safe passages were looked through, and then they have reached Port Sudan and will now be brought back to India.